Hello! We are in the midst of a very busy fortnight here at Archaeosoup Towers. You may have noticed that last week and also this week you've been receiving slightly fewer videos than normal, but that is set to change following Tuesday next week. There is a very good reason for that, yes. Anyway, today is a very important day in the UK. It is in fact election day. Today we go to the polls to decide what the shape of our government will be in 24 hours time. Now, this is actually the first election that Archaeosoup has been around for. The last one was right at the beginning, just before Archaeosoup got going. So this is the first time actually I've been able to comment on proceedings as Mr. Soup. Now, don't worry, I'm not going to go off on a rant about politics or anything like that. I'm very much going to respect everyone's right to have a political view and to enact it. But that really is the point. There are a couple of things I want to talk about today, which are quite interesting archaeologically and from a historical perspective when it comes to voting and our right to vote. You see, not that long ago in this country, archaeologically speaking, in the blink of an eye, in the past 500 years, most people didn't have any sort of right to vote. It just wasn't a thing. You know, the leader of this country was in place, usually a king, possibly a queen, through divine mandate. God had put this person in place, and this led to headbutting, Charles I, etc. Actually losing his headbutting on the floor. But the point is, though, we didn't vote our leaders in. It was a ruler, it was a king, and we didn't have any say. Bit by bit, things gradually changed, but even then, it was just landowners, people who had a very particular agenda, didn't really care about the people. What they cared about was their own investments, their own lands and wealth and prospects. They could vote, but most people couldn't. You and I, for example, couldn't vote. Over the years, things changed even more, and bit by bit, for example, in the 18th century, in 1754, in fact, locally, just around the corner from here, there's a place called Seaton Delaval Hall, where the Delaval family were very, very flamboyant. In fact, I might do a video about them at some point. They're very interesting people. But one day, one of them decided they wanted to go into Parliament, and what they did was they kicked off their campaign by firing a cannon laden with 500 golden guineas just at the public. Like several people died, as you might expect if you launch metal at high velocity into a crowd. But unless he got into Parliament, because he was able to buy votes. And actually at that time, not only could you buy and bribe, and it was almost completely okay. I mean, it was frowned on, I do believe, but it wasn't as illegal, for example, as it is today. Not only could you do that, but also if you, for example, worked in a factory, and the factory owner, your boss, was going to vote, say, for the Whig Party. Yes, the Whig Party, WHIG, I believe, was a real thing, and I'm not talking about hair pieces. If your boss was going to vote that way, it was expected, because you worked for him, usually him, that you were going to vote in line with your boss, because, well, that's what you should do as a good employee. So not only could your vote be bought, but also sometimes it was just almost out of your hands, because you could lose your job if you didn't vote a certain way. And then as time went on, eventually, for example, we had women fighting for the vote 100 years ago, people like Emily Pankhurst and the suffragettes really pushing home this argument that actually women aren't irrational, women aren't overly emotional when it comes to politics. They can have a debate, they have an agenda, they have an opinion, and they want their opinion to be heard. They fought for that right as well. So this country, this wonderful, brilliant country of ours, has a long history of fighting for the right to fighting for the right to elect their representatives. Now that's one of the key things, actually, is we are electing our local representative. We're not voting for a president or for a prime minister. That's for other countries. Here we vote for our local representative, and that in turn adds up to usually a party and therefore a leader having a say in the shape of the government. So I would invite you to bear all this stuff in mind. Bear in mind just how lucky you are to be able to vote. Bear in mind how lucky you are to be able to turn up and just spoil your ballot if you want. Draw rude shapes on the paper if you want. You can write none of the above if you want. But I would urge you to enact that right and to take advantage of your birthright, as it were, to go and vote. Now, later on today, Mrs. Super and I will be just around the corner at a local community centre. That's where the local polling station is set up. And I always reflect on the fact that actually I'm darn lucky to be able to vote. Now, okay, that's all well and good, you might be thinking. Oh, great, okay, wonderful little miniature history lesson. Thanks, Mr. Soup, for guilting me into voting. But all that to one side, from a modern archaeologist's perspective, from a modern poor archaeologist's perspective, I think it's also important that more archaeologists get out there and vote, and also become politically active, if not aware. You might not have noticed, but in this election campaign, heritage, history, archaeology hasn't really been a thing. It hasn't really come up. And probably part of the reason for that is because, well, archaeologists just don't seem to have a united lobbying voice when it comes to heritage issues. Those bodies who we would conventionally look to represent us, for example, to government or to parliament, often it seems in recent years are more interested in representing themselves, or at the very least making sure that they don't get shut down by the government of the day. I'm not going to name any organisations, I'm not going to start bitching about them, but it's true. Politicians are able to ignore the concerns of, say, archaeologists, historians and the like, because, well, we're seen as a slightly disparate group of people who are bickering and ranting with each other all the time, and therefore we have no united perspective. Why should they listen to us? Archaeology and history is reduced to a sort of a national resource which can be looked after by increasingly publicly funded organisations like the National Trust, or the new National Trust / English Heritage's version of it, as it were. In other words, it's no longer the concern of the government, the shape of the heritage sector. It's now really being handed over to the public. Now, you might think that's a good thing. You might think that that's just sort of crept in from nowhere. Where does that come from? But the point is that it hasn't been discussed at all in this election campaign. I certainly haven't seen anything serious about heritage or history or archaeology. Certainly not on a party level, on a manifesto level. So I would say that actually it's important for you guys to get out there and vote, so that when it comes to lobbying your local MP, when it comes to trying to present a united front against, say, the sale of antiquities from local museums, second car, that we have a political voice as much as a moral or a professional voice, that we actually can rally people towards a cause. Now, don't worry, I'm not advocating that 18th century politics where archaeologists all vote one way because, we're archaeologists. No. But rather just to be shown to be politically active in this day and age is very important and actually very powerful. So I'd invite you to consider that as well. If you're registered to vote and you're thinking, can't be bothered, it's up the road, it's going to rain, then I would invite you to reconsider that and to get involved in politics. It is important, and it will eventually, hopefully, lead to politicians having to listen to different parts of society who conventionally don't vote, or rather conventionally are seen as being politically apathetic or disengaged. And that's never going to change unless more people with certain interests and certain perspectives do get out there to the polling stations. Anyway, that's it for me today. I'm not going to talk about anything else to do with politics. Hopefully it's going to be a nice day. It's a nice sunny day, actually, by the look of it. So hopefully we'll have plenty of people getting out there and enacting their wonderful British right to choose the leaders of their society, and then obviously to complain quietly afterwards over a cup of tea about the shape of the government. Anyway, guys, whatever you're doing today, hopefully you have a wonderful day, and as ever, until next time, do take care. Bye-bye.